Kia ora, welcome to Central News for Thursday, the 6th of March. I'm Hilary Entwistle. A 350-tonne block of the sunken accommodation section of the Rena wreck has been cut off and dragged to Motiti Island, where salvors are attempting to lift it. Resolve Salvage and fire workers on Tuesday managed to cut the section lying beneath the water at Astrolabe Reef and drag it about 11 kilometres to the eastern side of Motiti Island. But Salvage spokesperson Hugo Shanahan says the first attempt to lift the section from the 35-metre deep water onto the RMG 500 barge to bring it back to shore was hindered by a twist in the shackle used to lift. Kayaking duo Andrew Roy and Scott Bicknell are certain paddling with the Silver Fern at this year's World Championship is a positive sign of things to come as they head towards the Olympic Games. The Tauranga pair has been named among the 23-strong New Zealand kayaking team to hotly contest the 2014 World Cup and 2014 World Championships and continue their steady progress up the international kayak ranks. Joining the pair is Bay of Plenty's world and Olympic champion Lisa Carrington, out to defend her K1 200-metre title. The selection signals 18 hard months of training and competing in the K2 200-metre. But Scott knows the hard work is only just beginning, despite having been selected countless times for the New Zealand team. Tauranga City pensioners are spoilt for choice when it comes to discount options, with more than a record 1,000 Bay of Plenty businesses now offering discounts to Super Gold card holders. Senior Citizens Minister Joe Goodhue today announced a record 1,039 Bay businesses are taking part in the pension scheme, a sizable leap from 477 2 years ago. The Super Gold card was first launched in August 2007 by New Zealand First leader Winston Peters to improve the quality of life of New Zealand's senior citizens, acknowledging their contribution to society. A health warning has been issued for Lake Rotoʻehu as routine monitoring results provided by the Bay of Plenty Regional Council have confirmed a bloom of potentially toxic blue-green algae. Contact with algae blooms can cause asthma and hay fever attacks in susceptible individuals, as well as skin rashes, stomach upsets, and in some cases neurological effects such as tingling around the mouth, headaches, breathing difficulties and visual problems. Signage will be erected at Lake Rotoʻehu advising potential lake users about the algae bloom. Hamilton City Council has approved a program for development of the iconic Hamilton Gardens in the draft annual plan. However, the funding will be pending on a successful lottery applications for funding the balance of the work. Council's 1/3 contribution is to be funded by a $10 targeted rate over the next 4 years on every rateable property. The proposed average increase in residential rates is to be kept at 3.8% for the 2014 and 15 draft annual plan. Hamilton Mayor Julie Hardacre says that the council continues to track ahead of expectations for balancing the books by 2017. Now for our region's marine forecast, west coast of Raglan easing Friday morning, variable 10 knots, becoming a southwest 15 knots on Saturday morning. Your high tide is 3:24 p.m. East Coast Bay of Plenty, Friday morning easing to variable 5 knots, afternoon sea breeze and 10 knots. Your high tide in Tauranga will be at 12:26 in the afternoon. Just ahead, we look at the fight for a new rugby stadium in Tauranga. Welcome to Central News. The discussion for a new stadium for the Bay of Plenty has been raised again. This was sparked by the Chiefs announcing they would not play any home games at Bay Park Stadium. Long-time advocate for a new rugby stadium and Steamers mascot, Hori Bop, chatted with me about this lengthy fight to have a great rugby stadium for the city of Tauranga. In his single-issue campaign for mayor, he said he realised it could not be done with the current state of debt though.
Well, of course, not quite 400 million. I see the council already starting to slash and burn, and I agree with that. There's nothing wrong with that. We've got to keep our debt down. As our city grows, it'll start to address that debt as well. However, we have to be observant of the fact that we can't go landing the city with another debt for this project. So I'll address this a little bit later on, but I've consumed the census 2013. I know the growth patterns and growth rates, and we're going to end up with about 250,000 people by 2050. We're not going to end up with any more than that, not based on the last 12 years of growth in this area. Now that goes against all the predictions that everyone else has been making, but that's the truth of the matter. That's the facts. That's Hori's predictions, and I'll live long enough to say I told you so.
What then would be your solution?
Well, because of that population constraint, I've got a three-pronged attack. Plan A was to go to the Domain with a purpose-built stadium. Can't afford it. That's the big message that come back to me during the campaign. Hori, you can't afford that. Okay, Plan B. Plan B is when the resource consent comes up for Speedway in 2020, which is only 6 years away. There's an area set aside at the Tech Park for the Speedway. Shift the Speedway out to the Tech Park. Lift up the stand there. It's only bolted in. Lift up the stands, bring them forward. Bang, you've got a purpose-built 20,000 seat stadium until we can afford our purpose-built 30,000 seat stadium in about 20 to 30 years at the Domain. So it gives us breathing space. Plan C is if the Speedway don't want to move. And fair enough, because they've just had a very successful motorsport summer. Brilliant, well marketed, well done. I want to see that for the city. I don't really want to see that move. I don't want to see that displaced. So I'd rather see Speedway stay here. So then Plan C has to fit in. Somehow we go back to the Domain with a purpose-built rectangular stadium with 2 green zones at the end. So all you're doing is just dumping a whole lot of earth in there and building your 5,000 stands like the green zones of Waikato Stadium at either end, because you've got enough room to do that. So you can put 10,000 people standing at each end. You lift up the Truman stand and you take it over there and plonk it down on one side. Just got to pull it apart and move it. And then on the other side, you start with the facilities you need in a purpose-built stadium, but you can do it kit set style, piecemeal style, as you can afford it over the next 30 years. So in 30 years' time, boom, you've got your stadium. You're not going to have 30,000 straight away. You might have 20,000, 22,000, but in 2020 you might have a 40,000 seat stadium. But it's affordable. You've done it as you can afford it, as the population grows, and we get there, instead of shooting the whole project in the foot right now and not even starting it.
I spoke with Mayor Stuart Crosby last week to find out his views on a new stadium and whether he was disappointed when the Chiefs said they would not play at Bay Park.
Look, I can understand it. They have normally had one game here. They get good crowds, but our pitch is not up to standard. It's a speedway track with a bit of green grass in the middle. It was never a purpose-built stadium. So when I was opening, part of the opening of our new cricket arena, a sports journalist said, well, what about a stadium in Tauranga? I said, yes, we need to start that conversation. And we do. It's a city of nearly 118,000 people and growing, and there should be a reasonably purpose-built stadium in the city, preference by our CBD, so you can get the economic benefit out of it. Doesn't have to be a big flash thing. They're talking around 15,000 people, just to cater for our needs.
The announcement sparked the debate again for a new stadium. What would be your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'm going to keep it out of council. So there is no council funding going into it. So there is a group of people have come to me and said, we'll help you do the initial planning, set up, do the investigation, feasibility, things like that. And that takes time. And so, like a 5 years' time, people said, Tauranga needs a stadium. There's a lead in time. So we're starting the conversation now and a little bit of work in 2014 and just see where that leads us.
Do you think this can be done with the current state of debt of the council, or do you think it needs to be funded privately?
Well, again, that's just a presumption that the council would fund it. And so if you looked at, say, $30 million, which it could be, I would not expect the ratepayers to fund that at all. Maybe a small portion of it, but again, there is a reasonable amount of wealth in the city through various trusts and organisations. It's just a matter of pitching a proper feasibility opportunity to them and see where that takes us. But that's probably 2 or 3 years away yet.
A few options have been thrown around. What are some of those?
Well, at this stage we have two. You could modify Bay Park or you could go to the Tauranga Domain. I don't think there's any other real option. Personally, I prefer an option close to the city so that people can go to an event and then utilise, our restaurant scene before or after the games.
Coming up later in the program, your weather for Friday. But next is the Youth Search and Rescue Team. Welcome back. An innovative youth development program is searching for young people interested in making a difference in the lives of people in need. The Hamilton Land Search and Rescue Group were the first group in the country to establish a youth search and rescue team. Anne-Marie spoke with Hamilton YSAR coordinator Barry Weir to find out more.
Barry, welcome to Central News. Youth Search and Rescue. Tell me about that. What is it?
It's a group of teenagers that enjoy spending time in the bush, really. It's an organisation that teaches them survival skills in the bush and the skills they need to be able to be part of a search and rescue group, go out and find people that are lost.
It's connected to the Land Search and Rescue, isn't it?
Correct. It's a subgroup of the Hamilton Search and Rescue Group. It's an organisation that's training members to be part of that group that does the searching.
There's a basic training that happens for about 3 years. Tell me about the first year of their basic training.
The first year is the most intense year. That's where the members are really learning to be comfortable in the bush, to be able to operate in the bush effectively and really to survive in the bush, to be able to work on their own in the bush. The core bush skills, it takes a lot of hours of bush time to really develop that comfort, security, confidence that enables people to work effectively out there. So the first year in particular is really intense in terms of the exercise people are doing during our camps.
So how do you teach them to survive in the bush?
By putting them out there over and over and over again and doing very similar exercises each time. It's really off-track navigation. They have a map, they have a compass, and they go out and follow a red line that's drawn on the map. You can't see it on the ground, of course, and they're out there in pairs doing that. So they really have to make the hard decisions themselves of where are we, where do we go, how do we get out of this place that we're in right now. And it's only by doing that over and over that they really do develop those skills quite quickly, of just how to do that, how to know where they are.
How often are the camps held?
Every second or third weekend. So we have training every Wednesday night, and that's where we cover the theory of what they're doing, and then during the weekends they get out there and put it into practice.
Once the first year of basic training has finished, what happens then?
Then the second and third year program is more oriented around search and rescue skills. So they're going out there and still spending time in the bush, but spending more time practicing looking for people, practicing those core skills like tracking and the search techniques we use.
You mentioned a computer course as well that the teenagers can take.
Correct. At the end of their first year, we also put them through a 2-day computer course. They teach them how to use all the technology that's used during the search. That's the software, the hardware, the satellite equipment, all that sort of stuff. And they learn how to set that up and operate it. And of course, being teenagers, they do that really well. So after that course, they can qualify to be able to actually help during the search. So might only be 15 at that stage. They're able to get out of school, go out and help, work with the police, actually help them run a search. And that's a big thing to be able to do.
Barry, it's a fantastic initiative. Thanks for coming in.
It's my pleasure.
Any 14 to 18-year-olds interested in joining YSAR can check out ysar.org.nz. The Royal New Zealand Pipe Band Association will hold for the second time in Tauranga the National Championships on the 7th and 8th of March at the Tauranga Domain. I found out how many bands we can expect.
Okay, there are 43 adult bands entered and 7 juvenile bands. Juvenile band made up of musicians under 18 years of old plus their tutors. The bands have throughout New Zealand will travel from Whangarei in the north to Invercargill in the south, and we have 2 bands from Australia, one from the Gold Coast and one from Sydney.
what is a band judged on?
Okay, there are a number of different judges. Some are judging just the piping, so making sure that the pipers are playing the music properly. There are also judges judging the drumming to make sure that that is done properly, and then there is what's called an ensemble judge who judges the integration of the pipers and the drummers together to give the kind of orchestral effect.
Will there be heats or something similar until winner is announced?
No, there are five actually grades in New Zealand, from 4B up to grade 1, and each of those groups of bands compete in two different musical events plus the street march. So they're judged, each of those ones play one after the other, and the judges judge and decide which is the best in that grade. And so a decision is made and that band is awarded the championship in that grade.
And this is actually the second year that you guys have had the championships here in Tauranga. Why is that?
Yes, we ran it in 2012 and it was a very successful contest, and the Royal New Zealand Pipe Band Association asked if we would do it again in 2014, which we agreed to do. Normally it's held North Island, South Island alternately, and this is the first time for many years that it's been held in the same city on a rotation.
What do you think led to that event being so successful?
I think it's the venue, it's the climate, it's all those things that, and also the assistance of the City Council in allowing the facilities to be used, and a whole lot of things.
And what kind of uniform are we talking here? Can we expect to see kilts?
Many kilts. Every bandsman who plays will be wearing kilts. Some will wear full dress, that is plaids and the busbies, the big hats on top. But everyone will be in uniforms, yes.
So what is the full uniform? Can you from the busby hat right down, can you run us through it?
Okay. Well, with the full uniform, the pipers are playing in kilts, obviously, sporrans, spats over their shoes, but they're also wearing doublets, which are jackets with big buttons on them, and plaids that go down the side, and also the busby hat.
The championships start tomorrow in Tauranga at the Domain. Coming up next, your weather and the other side of the Avanti drone. Welcome to Central News. It's not only the elite cyclists amongst us that are feeling excited about the opening of the Avanti drone in Cambridge. With 65 hours a week available to be used by the public, everyone is eagerly anticipating the opening of the world-class facility. Anne-Marie spoke with Nikki Martin, the Business Development Manager from Avanti Drone, to find out what's on offer.
Nikki, welcome to Central News.
Thank you.
The Avanti Drome, it really is a facility for everyone, isn't it?
Definitely. I mean, that's our mantra. Our mantra we have is no bike, no helmet, no lycra, no problem.
No lycra.
Definitely.
That's no problem. Tell me about that mantra. How does it work?
So one of the big issues people talk to us about is, well, it's a track and we need a track bike. We need a special bike. And they are a special bike to go on the track. You can't turn up with your mountain bike or your road bike. You need to be on a specific track bike, and they cost a lot of money. So we've gone and ordered 100 community bikes that people can turn up and use our bikes. The next thing people say is, well, I don't have a helmet. That's fine, because we've got 100 helmets that people can use. And then the next excuse usually is, oh, I don't like wearing lycra, and that's totally fine. We say if you want to wear lycra, that's fine, but if you don't want to wear lycra, that's great.
So you could just turn up in shorts and a T-shirt?
Shorts and T-shirts. So I rode the velodrome 2 days ago in denim shorts, Converse shoes and just a T-shirt, and had a ball of a time, and it was brilliant.
Is there an age requirement?
So the minimum age to go on the track is 10, and that's really just a health and safety factor. And kids at that age really are beginning to get a lot stronger, and also bike skills as well, just so that they're more stable on a bike. But no, and then we say up to 110. So I've actually got somebody who's booked their 80th birthday party with us later this year, and he actually tried out for the Olympic New Zealand team in his 30s, and he's really keen to get back and have a go on the bike himself.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
You do cater for the under 10s though as well. You've got a mum and tots program.
Definitely.
That sounds amazing.
It is. Well, as a mum myself, I just remember back to those days when my kids were under 5 and I really wanted to exercise but couldn't because I'd got nowhere for my under 5s to go. So what we've actually done again is looked at the barriers. So if you're a mum, dad, aunt, uncle or carer of an under 5, you can come into the velodrome. We'll have a pump track or an obstacle course in the infield. So the carer can go and have an hour on the track with the instructor, while the under 5 has their own fun learning really important bike skills on the infield with another instructor.
My son's really excited to hear that birthday parties are going to be
Definitely,
held
yeah.
at the Avantidrome. Tell me about that.
So again, it's such a great facility for the community that we really want people to be able to use it as widely as possible. And so we're sort of aiming to take on the laser tags and the bowling. It's another idea for a birthday party. So from as little as $15 per person per hour, we can cater for a birthday party as long as they're 10 years old, and they can come on the track for an hour. We provide the bike and the helmet and an instructor, and they have an hour of fun on the track. And then there's 2 options. They can either go into our function rooms and have the birthday party. We can supply the birthday cake and all the food and the drink. Otherwise, we have the cafe on site that you could then go into for the rest of the birthday party.
Brilliant.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
If you'd like to get involved, go to avantidrome.co.nz. Time now for Friday's weather. Hamilton, mainly fine with light winds. Your expected high is 26 and an overnight low of 10. Paeroa, mainly fine with an expected high of 25 and 10. Matamata, the same with light winds. Your expected high is 24 and 11. Te Awamutu, your Friday will be fine with light winds for the high of 26 and 10 for your expected low. Tokoroa, fine with light winds. Your expected high is 24 and 8. Bay of Plenty, looking very similar for your Friday. Mainly fine with light winds. Your expected high for Tauranga is 23 and an overnight low of 13. The same for you, Tapuki. Expected high is 22 and an overnight low of 12. That is Central News for today. Like us on Facebook or email us at news@tvcentral.co.nz. Let us know if you have something interesting going on in your neighbourhood or any community issues you think need to be addressed, because Central News is your news. I'll be back tomorrow night with more guests from the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty. I'm Hilary Hentwistle. I hope you have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.